So, can I go ahead and call the meeting to order? Right at 9 o'clock, I think. Yeah.
Right out.
Roll call. Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Kress?
Here.
Ms. Lackey?
Here.
Mr. Salazar?
Here.
Ms. Michaels?
Here. Petitions or communications, oral or written? Anybody have anything? Nope. Okay, approval of minutes from the regular meeting minutes of August 14th.
While I really understand why in the minutes that Amy Robertson and Nancy Lackey paragraph is in there, it's just embarrassing. But I move to approve.
Thank you, Nancy.
I second
All in favor?
it.
Any opposed? Okay, financials, approval of invoices.
So moved.
Nancy moved. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Tom?
Aye.
We're all aye. Okay, craft 101.
Oh, wait, let's go to budget meeting, September 25th. That is your next work session.
Oh, sorry. Budget meeting, September 25th.
Is that approved? Can we go forward with doing that budget meeting?
I
on
will not
September
be in
25th?
town. I will be at the La Quinta Convention.
Can we have another date then to set that budget meeting?
What's the date on it?
It's the 25th. I leave the 24th. And I don't get back till I have 3 things in a row, including the governor's tourism one, and I won't get back till October 8th.
Can we have it any time between now and then?
Yep, absolutely.
That's fine.
Does anybody have any other dates they'd like to put forward? Next Wednesday?
That's fine.
I won't be here, but that's fine.
I think
It's better that we're all here.
Yeah, I really think it's important.
Yeah. How about Monday we can move it till October, I suppose.
It actually has to be before September 30th.
Can you do
When did
Tuesday?
you-
The
Yeah,
17th?
Tuesday, the 17th.
Well, we were gonna be gone from the 15th to the 23rd. I can come in, how about Monday what is that, the 16th?
Yeah, this coming Monday?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm
Yeah.
not here.
Oh,
You're not here?
No,
Where will you be back?
I have a doctor's appointment.
Oh, how about the next day, Tuesday?
Tuesday's fine with me.
Tuesday.
You're gone, Lauren?
Well, yeah, I am gone. No, I'm gone on the 23rd.
That's
So
Monday.
the 17th.
That's 20, and I can do stuff during the day, but I'm gone at night. I can we do it, this is Wednesday, can we do it Friday
This Friday?
at,
I won't be here.
yeah,
Not Tuesday, the 17th, or?
the Tuesday the 17th, I can do it anytime afternoon. I have that Hilton meeting on Tuesday mornings from 8 to 11 every day.
Everybody else good with the 17th? That's Tuesday afternoon?
What time is a good time for you?
Anytime,
Okay.
we're closed that week.
Okay, so.
I'm fine, anytime.
How about 12:30?
September 17th, 12:30?
12:30.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for continuing to make this
So
work.
it's 17th at 12:30?
Yes.
For the CTO magazine ad, that has to be approved by September 30th. That was tabled at the last meeting.
And the cost of that ad, again, was
$14,000.
$14,000, and this is
But the deliverables were, there was
The
actually
yeah.
some deliverables with this ad versus nothing from any other ad.
yeah. This is background information. This is the years we don't advertise in the CTO magazine, that's the Colorado magazine people.
This is the Colorado one, right?
Yeah.
I forgot which ad are we doing? What does it look like?
Oh, we're changing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It was something that
it's just the
Jonathan
approval of the
developed
whole
before
page
that
of the
carries
Colorado
over.
State Vacation Guide.
Okay.
So we will develop that ad. We just have to have the contract signed by the 30th. So
I see.
we have time to develop the ad.
Okay, thank you.
I motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Alright.
Thanks,
Sorry,
everybody. Okay, no, it's all good. Okay, so it has taken me quite a bit to try to understand this, and I came in a little early this morning and went over it with Marty. So I'm gonna stand over here, just not because I'm in favor of anything, but because it's the way I explain things, and I don't know if you'd like to come with me, Victor, and explain this. It has taken me a little bit to understand this, so if you guys will see in your package, there is a State of Colorado, Office of the Governor, Office of Economic Development, grant that Tara Marshall wrote, and actually Marty and I just saw it for the first time just today. I saw it, Marty, when I saw it yesterday or whatever, because we were trying to research what the facts are. So that's what I'm here to do. Unless you have questions for facts, because I've worked all the way through this, I would like for me to present you with all the facts, and then let's talk about it, because these facts are gonna trip up all the way through so that everybody has facts, okay? Is that good? Okay, so in the State of Colorado, Office of the Governor, Office of Economic Development grant that Tara wrote, if you go to page 2 of 6, but it's actually like the 5th page in your package. It's look on the bottom right hand corner, it'll say page 2 of 6, and in the middle of that page it says application request detail. And this is what Tara had written. It's paragraph 3. One success of the workshops was identifying the community's need to develop a signature event associated with outdoor recreation and in particular bicycle tourism. Several implementation steps have taken place since the finalization of the Studio 101 workshops. The Tourism Board is engaging with RPM Events Group, the creators of the Colorado Classic, to formulate a signature Trinidad-based bicycle event to expand tourism and to foster a culture of bicycle tourism in Trinidad. The Tourism Board and City Council just authorized $25,000 in funding for 2019 to support this next step, and planning will begin in January. A second success to come from the Studio 101 workshops was an outline of a simple 2-year marketing strategy to boost Trinidad's online and social media presence in 2019 and 20. The Tourism Board has allocated $65,000 in funding for a professional marketing contract in 2019 to begin implementation of this strategy. This 2-year strategy will give the Tourism Board the opportunity to formulate a more long-term marketing plan, and by working with a professional marketing firm, will begin to create content that supports future marketing efforts. Now, without any questions or any emotion, I'm going to tell you that as representation of the City of Trinidad's Tourism Board, like we did with Jonathan, when this was written, this is a commitment. And it was not known to any of us, but it was a commitment. And just like with Jonathan, when Tara wrote this, it was in representation of the City of Trinidad. And I will continue because it gets a little better. Okay, so if we continue to go on into page 5 of 6, just a couple pages further up, it says if grant funding, the city would create an RFP within the first quarter of 2019, which none of us here knew, including Marty or Victor, that we would have to write an RFP in the first quarter of 2019 for a professional firm to complete the detailed visitor profile study. We would award the RFP and contract with the company and plan the kickoff for April. Now, if you guys remember correctly, we sat in a meeting in the other room, and Tara was there, and the mayor was there, and we talked about this $10,000 worth of grant money, and to throw in the additional $15,000 for the $25,000 grant. And this board did not approve that, as I remember. And at that point, we were told that economic development would throw in the extra $15,000. Somewhere in the process of all this, in CTO office, talking to Greg Sund, our former general manager of the city, he went ahead and did this portion for us, thinking that's what he was supposed to do. Okay. Now, CTO has come forward and said that the RPM contract with the city is not exactly like this grant that Tara wrote. So, the city council has come up with So then, in the meantime, recently, Greg was talking to, and I got looped in on the back end. I sort of mentioned that at the last meeting, just that this was going on, but I did not know how all this was gonna lay out, because Marty and I still did not know about this contract here. CTO office, then Marty says to CTO office, well then send us a grant, because we don't have a copy of that. We don't know what's going on. And Marty wanted to give us, as she's been doing, the best advice and background, so they produced the grant, which we had not seen. In the meantime, the Mobile Visitor Insights Solutions here, this visitor profile is a company that says, Joey, your people are going into Bricks, sitting down in Bricks, and on their cell phones, they're looking up where there's music at tonight, they're looking up where the hiking trails are, they're looking up. So this is a smart visitor study. So what it is anybody that's been walking in the downtown area that has a cell phone, that's looking for a place to drink, looking for beads, looking if there's bed and breakfast downtown, looking for if the pot shops, looking for if you can buy roller skates downtown, whatever they're looking for, they produce from all the smartphones. When you get into, you're using LA Grills, Wi-Fi, Joey's Wi-Fi, any place that has Wi-Fi that people have been searching, and put out a report that shows what all the searches are about and where they're searching for. So if all of a sudden we see that downtown they are really searching for a game center, a Dave & Buster's, a place to play pool, maybe things we have and maybe things we don't have, which is the big thing, the things we don't have. This study would say what our visitors search for that we may or may not know. So, now we're talking about cash. We understand there's a grant in effect with a contract with CTO office. We also understand that this mobile visitor study, which is one of the best ones in companies, and I had researched it, and you guys obviously can research it too, was $35,000 to the city of Trinidad. And Greg told me he was talking to him, he wanted me to look at it, that's how I saw it. Marty's talked to him recently, and instead of $35,000, they have went down to $25,000, which is a savings of $10,000. So, to understand this, Cheryl, being CFO representative, always wanting to do the paperwork, right? She says that the $10,000 that was given to us and was taken back away because Greg put it with the $15,000 is really an illegal move.
Yes, it is.
So they're giving us the $10,000 back. But we are committed to a contract with the visitor profile survey. So we could take that $10,000 and loop it with, it gets a little deeper than this, I'm giving it in chunks. We could take the $10,000 and loop it with $15,000 and be able to provide a visitor study, because we are in contract that we have to do that with the state of Colorado because we accepted the award. But
where would that 15,000 come from?
it will come from,
Development.
yeah, 50,
Economic.
so
that'll be
the city says, here's what the city says. This is, I think this is a good thing because we're in contract and I lived through Jonathan's contract. So here, this is what it is. So this is a $25,000 study that was $35,000. Craft 101 does qualify for this study, which is the $10,000. And the city said with economic development money, they'll throw in the 15. Okay, so we're clear here? The problem exists where money is expended is that $12,500 of the RPM contract has already been paid by the city. That has to be moved into our line item, and for us to continue with the RPM contract, it will be $12,500. So, if we approve the additional $12,500, knowing that $12,500 has already come out, we will have had $60,000 worth of visitor study at our cost of $25,000. You see why I had to tell you all the facts?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's $60,000 worth of visitor profile studies. We have to throw in $25,000, and we get both studies. And I don't know how else to go around it because it was really upsetting to me. And I said to Marty, this board did not approve the initial $15,000, but like Jonathan, Tara, by signing this, was representation of the city of Trinidad, we have to abide by a visitor study. Go ahead, Nancy.
Then the city should pay for it.
Yeah, they won't, it's
Well-
just, she signed it under tourism board, and that's just like Jonathan's contracts, the representation of us. I think Marty handles that better and comes to us, but Jonathan and Tara, by sitting in the city, had different domains and different things that.
Here's the part that I can't stomach of the whole thing, is this should have never been pulled up from under us without any kind of information at all given to us, because I feel that we're just throwing money now out there. We're throwing $65,000.
Well, it's only $25,000.
$25,000.
So she's gotten them to a bargain place, and the city has kicked in $15,000. So it will cost us total, for $60,000 worth of visitor studies, it will cost us a total of 25, is that correct? Of which 12.5 has already been paid.
The point is though, Tara,
Is
Tara was a city staff member. Now, she signed it as the tourism board, whatever,
Liaison.
However, it was done under false assumptions, correct?
I don't
Correct.
know that it was done under false assumptions as it was, a lack of understanding, a lack of presentation and a lack of understanding on behalf of both parties. So Tara did not explain it clearly to us, cause we walked away with an understanding that it was one and the same. That RPM and the visitor profile study were one and the same. That's how we walked away from this.
And I did
But
hear,
it
in all
did-
respect to Tara, I did hear a couple conversations with CTO that was really pushing this whole contract, but it wasn't clear to us, apparently, because it wasn't clear to me. I had to like ask them
So we walked away with, without a clear understanding, and, Tara did explain it to us, but we didn't understand it, so.
But
Tara,
did she come to tourism, this was way before my time,
she
did
did,
she
and
come to tourism and say, I would like to engage in conversation with the tourism board, what you think of this application of this grant? Did she do that?
yes, and I reviewed all of the tourism board tapes, that, of all the meetings that were recorded.
And so
And on
the,
3 different instances, and I also have minutes, she did explain it to the board. What happened was, it was
pulled up from
Clearly.
under us.
It wasn't clearly explained, and we walked away thinking it was something entirely different than what it actually was.
And one of the things I always find with the city in the times that this has happened is when we have a city staff member that's the liaison making our decisions versus us. It's what had happened with Jonathan, and the same thing happened with Tara. I think Tara had good intent, but so when it gets right down to it is, do we wanna spend $25,000 and get both studies done now since we're in the middle of them? Or just,
What's the worst that
Will the
would-
city give us any money?
they
Or-
did.
They did.
They
I
did.
No,
12.
but now.
No,
for
15.
15, they already gave
15,
us
she
money.
reduced it by 10, they gave us 15, and CTO still has 10 in the block.
So we have to come up with 12.5.
Correct.
The city won't give us any.
They
part of
gave
that
us
12.5.
15, no, they gave us 15, cause if we were not to pay for this, we would have to have paid for $60,000, but our whole buy-in now is only at 25. And I mean, we can sit here and knock our heads against the wall because it's frustrating, because it's frustrating because it's happened before. I don't think the same thing will happen as we have Marty, since Marty's not signing contracts, and it doesn't want to. She wants to make sure that we all have board approval. I have always operated that I like everybody to make a decision, not me, so in case something goes wrong, we all are in on it and we don't know it, so I don't operate that way.
so
But
did you get to review this before it was submitted?
no, none of us did. No, as the same, we did it with Jonathan when he bought ads and signed his signature.
Two
No,
times.
when they are an employee of the city and they're the liaison, they have that right. I don't think that's gonna happen again. I think we've learned that. All I can say is that I could get really upset about this, cause I was, and I said to Marty, this board is not gonna be happy about this, because I was in that room when we all said no to the 15, but for $25,000, we get a really incredible survey that includes all the stuff, at a discounted rate.
I mean, I think we need to just quit spending stupid money.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting $10,000, but we're spending $65,000.
No.
No,
Is that
no,
what it is?
no, 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 no,
We're
no.
getting, well, it says grant $10,000 from the state.
Correct.
They
But that means we don't get that money if we do not do this.
I know, but my thing is, why are we spending so much money
We-
for a study?
Yeah,
Because,
it's
you
not
know, here's the reason why we're spending.
It's a value of
Here's,
65.
here's,
It's
the-
a-
here's
right,
the
thank
reason
you,
why,
Nancy.
is because so many things are pulled up from under us.
Right.
And when this thing was pulled up from under us, we were told that it was gonna be taken care of by the city.
That's right.
So all of a
Right.
sudden now it's dumped back on us because there's a balance of 12.5.
And Tara made that
So-
very clear. She stood in front of this board and said, I will get 15,000 for you from the city.
Mhm.
And I said to her,
And she did.
in writing, and she said yes, of which we never got.
Well, I think that's the reason why this study, to move forward with the CTO grant, has the $10,000 in it, and the city has thrown in the 15, so technically, we're not paying for this study.
But I think on the study though, okay, say we get the study, but what is it for actually when we don't have nothing in place for the study after? I mean, this biggest thing is the biking and, I mean, that's
So-
what I'm reading through,
so-
but none of
so
it's
there's
even
two
in place.
studies.
But,
There's
okay,
two studies.
So what are
let
they-
me clarify.
Okay.
That one right there is done and paid for, and we're not responsible for, so
But we're
that-
getting this.
We're getting
This
this,
one.
we're done.
Okay.
We're
with that
not.
one.
We are not. So this is actually one of three
That we
Right.
had,
that we had to acquire.
Okay.
So under the guidelines of this grant, we were required to get 3 bids from firms that would provide us with a visitor profile study,
Right.
okay?
so the state is wanting this,
The,
but we
Yes.
could go elsewhere.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly, no, the
No.
state isn't even wanting this,
No, no,
the
no.
state is wanting,
This company,
no,
that is just one that was identified and placed before
it's
us
a GPS
as an
visitor
option.
study, right.
So Victor was in the process of acquiring these 3 bids at some point. He came up with one. In the meantime, I've come up with a second, and I'm working on the third. So these will be the 3 requirements that we have by city financial department's guidelines. We have to get 3 bids.
3 bids.
And
Okay, we now have 2 and, about a half.
okay.
So, that you're not required by this, but this is the recommended firm
Well,
to move forward with.
So
Recommended
because,
by who?
no, that's,
the state.
no, we were just looking at different ones, and so this one was the one Marty printed off.
So it's not recommended by
No,
nobody?
it's a GPS visitor study, which after looking at visitor studies, I think this would be a good piece for us. So to let you know, the $10,000 from CTO will go into here, and the $15,000 from economic development, holding Tara Marshall's word true, because she said that in the meeting, the city said, we'll throw in the 15 for this with the 10.
Can't you just use our Google Analytics as our study? I mean, we have a Google Analytics set up with our
It's a little
website.
bit
It
more
has
in
to be
depth
done.
than that.
I think
Yeah.
everybody's missing this point.
Yeah.
This one has to be done,
This
and
one-
that one's
and
taken
this-
care of.
And
We're
this
just
one
waiting for the
is
3
no
bids.
money for us.
Right.
This doesn't cost us any money.
That
at all.
does not cost
None.
us any money.
This is just
So,
a big waste of money, right?
Yeah.
well, I understand, but that is,
Huge waste of money.
that's the city,
So
they
let
did it.
me get this straight. We got $15,000 from the city.
The economic development,
We have $10,000 from the state.
uh-huh.
That's
That's
25,000.
And that
That's
So
qualifies.
now we have to put 12,000.
No,
No,
That's 2 separate.
They're two separate, so let's
One
get
is
this.
RPM.
Yeah,
Let's-
we're bouncing
okay,
all over.
okay, let's-
That's why I said, let's just settle
Yeah.
this one. This is a done deal. We just need to get 3 RPMs from it, to pick
Okay.
which one we got,
RFPs.
RFPs, pick which
Yeah.
one we're gonna go, this one's done.
This
Is
is
it
the
paid
cost.
for already or not
Yeah,
paid
It's
for?
paid
yes,
for.
paid for, okay.
Okay.
But it
So
is
we
worth
move it.
$35,000 as a value, but it
Okay.
costs us nothing.
So-
Okay.
And that is actually something we have to do.
We have to do this.
Okay, so
What?
We have to
We
select.
are
the
bound
visitors.
by that.
That's done, so that's done. The only thing we have to do is select from the 3.
This
It's
one
done.
costs no money to
This
us,
one
it's
costs
just
no money.
brain power. It costs us no money.
But
It's
so let
brain
me,
power.
let me put in perspective, cause I'm kinda new to this, cause this was done kinda before when I got on. So the reason why we're bound to is cause we got a $10,000 grant, is that why?
Correct, with the Colorado
From the
Tourism
craft
Office.
101.
And the
Craft 101.
$15,000 city's throwing in. So this or whatever we select, this visitor study.
So how
whichever
much
one we
is that
select.
total package just for this one?
$25,000.
And we're getting 10,000 of that money from the state. So
And
we're
15,000.
out of 15.
15,000
So that's
from
why you're
economic
saying it's.
development.
it's
Because
already
that
paid
bill,
for.
city
That
gave
one's done.
15,000 for that.
Okay,
That was
so,
done.
so
Okay,
we,
so-
so the
so-
only buy-in that we have is we have to decide which kind of visitor study we wanna put out there, but it's paid for us.
Okay,
Alright, so I
we-
suggest that we get a third bid, compare the bids. Now, we could possibly get a bid less than 25,000.
Not
Correct.
likely.
Well, not likely yet, because
Not
everything we've been
likely.
Now,
seeing.
you
I've looked.
negotiated this one.
Yes, because it was 35 and I saw another one for 39, so it's probably right in the ballpark of what a GPS
So
study
we
is.
just need one more bid to.
And then
complete
we
the
can
three.
decide, and it's no cost to us
Okay,
because of the
that's
way it worked out, okay?
Now, the 12.5 that.
Now,
we
let
have
me
to
just
pay.
do this, okay?
Tom, that's our
So the
plan.
12, so our CFO says that the 12.5 has had to come out of us. The question on the table is, do you wanna throw in another 12.5 and finish this study? Or just say, we're not finished in the study and walk away from it?
So
we
what do we get
already
with the
spent-
first 12.5?
It was a contract that Tara Marshall signed that said 12.5
You already
now,
went to
12.5 later, and it's the tourism
No.
board rep, so we
Remember-
have to decide.
Now, that 12.5 came from where?
Tourism.
Remember,
Now, we have to pay the other 12.5.
Or not
to
have a
complete.
study and just walk away from it.
Right.
And lose our $12,000.
remember, you guys, this was the RPM study that Tara said, we need to do this to stay in good stead with the state, so they fund the Welcome Center,
Right.
which
We
turned
didn't get
out to be
funded.
not true.
Right.
Okay, my question is, for our 12.5, have we received anything from them yet?
That's the next line item on your agenda, and I will bring you up to speed on that.
Gotcha.
Let's do that right now.
Might as well
Now
put
everybody
something on that.
understands what the problem is.
Yeah.
We'll
Yes.
have to make a decision on a visitor study. It doesn't cost any money to us, but we're the overseeing board for it. The city's putting it back in our hands the way it should be. And now we have to deal with RPM, okay?
Okay.
But as a PS to all of this, I hope to God that this board, if they ever apply for another grant, institute with the grant writer, review it before it's submitted. This is ridiculous. And how
We
a
understand.
city liaison person could compose a grant, sign the grant, and submit the grant without review by the tourism board is beyond me.
Well, if you look at a lot of things of the way they were done.
Yes.
It wasn't done by the board,
Okay,
it was
so-
done by staff.
I know, it took me a lot just so that I could explain it to you guys clearly.
Well, do you agree that it needs to be reviewed?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt, without a doubt. But I think there was a while that because of the tourism board's money and trying to get Trinidad ahead and having Jonathan as liaison and having Tara as liaison and them dealing with so many people at the state level, they did things in support of the tourism board without us complete knowledge, and I don't
And
think that
that's,
will happen again.
and that's not right. And
No.
just as this was taken off of us.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
find out about, I don't know.
Let's
this
find
one's
out
for-
about RPM.
Okay, so in your package, you'll see proceeding the scope of work from RPM, so that's this page here that has the little gears on it.
Mhm.
The page before that is the last communication that I had with Rob Simon from RPM, outlining what the next steps are. And we clearly understood, that nothing would happen until October. That was in their contract, and you should have had that in the previous packet. So the action steps right now for the project and the timeline is that they needed to sign the agreement. That was done by Greg's son before he left, so that is completed. The next one is he's setting up a meeting in Trinidad the week of September 9th. That's actually, I'm gonna check everybody's calendar to see if September the 8th is a good date for everybody to meet with RPM.
For next year?
No, that's,
Well, the 8th is
I
Yeah.
passed.
mean,
Sorry, the
I'm
11th.
sorry, the 18th.
Oh.
So putting together a working group of stakeholders within the community. Stakeholders within the community would be, economic development, somebody from the tourism board, bicycle tourism people, outdoor recreation people. It'll identify the stakeholders, and I'm working on that currently now, so that they can sit down with RPM, okay?
But I have a question, Marty, just because I'm seeing this now. This was, so, did they actually get a copy of the signed agreement from Greg yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's complete. They will be meeting, I believe it's this Friday, with, the Trust for Public Lands and the Nature Conservancy, to talk about Fisher's Peak. So that's another part of what they're doing as part of this scope of work for the visioning for RPM. So that's the next thing they're doing. October 2nd is when they're doing that. And then on October the 8th, they wanted to have a community workshop, so that so I'm working on putting together a community workshop for them. So it's in the works.
So that's
Moving
even
forward.
if we don't go forward with the additional funding. They're
Now,
still coming.
Let me
They'll
remind
only
you that
give
you've
it
already
12.
paid them $12,500,
I think
So-
that we have to continue.
and the contract has been signed.
Oh, there's no question about that. Sorry.
Just because the fact of we've already paid the 12.5 and all the things that we want in it for going ahead with the biking and it's, the saddest thing is here's another thing that we're roped into by other people making decisions for us, you know, and this is where I feel this whole thing with these last two things is that's got to stop.
Well, we're suffering the consequences because of Tara and Greg's son. He stood up right there and said, I'm going to city council with it. And that's when he walked out. And we said, we don't want nothing to do with it, and he
But
left. And now we're stuck
I
with
think
it.
at this point in the
Because
middle
they were
of it,
representing the tourism board.
is this a voting, a meeting?
This is a meeting, it's not a work session, it's a meeting.
So we vote yes or no.
So with this study, what do we get out of it still? I still don't understand,
Yeah.
what
The
are
thing
we
of it
getting
is,
for our money
here's-
for
Do you
$25,000?
Here's the
do you have
thing-
the
here's the
current
thing of
RPM contract?
It's in your packet.
Oh, the current,
It's
okay,
right
that's
here, Joey.
Here's the thing of it, Joey, is I think we want something on biking for the future. And I think this is, since we're already into it, this is what's gonna give us an
So
entire
let's
package.
let's review it. So the statement of purpose is to develop a shared vision of the city of Trinidad's community to create a signature cycling and outdoor recreation event or series of events that will be foundation for fostering bicycles. It is phase 1, it's the visioning, it's access to working how 3 phases for developing bicycle tourism for Trinidad, phase 1 envisioning, planning, and implementation. If I remember correctly, by the time we get done with this, we have been given a guideline like we got for Artocade, or a guideline like maybe the Blues Fest runs that says for you to have a bicycling event in your town for 1 to 5,000 people, you need this street cut off, this here, you need this, you need that, these are the bikeways, these are the kinds of tour, they give you a whole package for an event that we can go ahead and foster and have that event, and
Here's
so
the
that's
best
what
way right
this is.
here is right here.
I would
Read this
like to-
paragraph right here.
I would like to historically go back and review something.
Mhm.
This group was promoted by Tara. It came out of the state tourism office, and she pushed and pushed and pushed until we agreed to this because of the Welcome Center funding. Now, in comparison, Juan De La Roca's contract was $20,000 with the same parameters as this. But that day that we were to vote on Juan's funding was the day that Greg's son and Tara delivered the deliverable letter to our board.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, you were here.
That's right.
Was I?
No,
I
Camilla
wasn't,
was.
yeah.
And there's nothing we can do about this, but I am voicing concern over the way this was all handled, and now Greg's son is gone, but I also understand that he tried to take $10,000 from our general fund to pay RPM, and the state said, no, you cannot do that.
Mhm.
That's misappropriation of funds. So we're stuck with this
Mhm.
at $5,000 more than a local contractor could have done it for.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem that I have. We're gonna probably have to move forward on this, but the problem that I have with this is 4 months ago, we talked to the city about getting stripes on the city somewhere, bicycle things, letting people know to start this. 4 months later, we still haven't, nothing's happened.
Right.
So we're gonna spend all this money for this study where we don't even have this, I mean, has anybody talked to the city and say, the city is all in with bicycles, we're gonna move forward, here's our 3 to 5 year plan for bicycles. We don't even know that, but we're gonna do a study on bicycles, and we don't even know if the city's even on board to do bicycles. So I think that's a pretty expensive $25,000 cost to us, and we don't know if the city's even all in to do it.
Well,
It's like we're not working all on the same page for sure.
right.
Cause not once has the city said, guys, we're on board, we're gonna spend $100,000 to get bicycles going and promote bicycles in the city. On your side, tourism board, we want you guys to do this study for $25,000, cause on the back end, we're gonna spend $100,000 getting bicycles ready for this. I don't see that happening. The city has not done not one thing for bicycles in the community. I just rode a bike the other day, 15 miles. There's no bicycle trails. There's no bicycle signs, there's no bicycle, nothing to do with bicycles in this town. Why would we do a study on bicycles if we don't even have the city behind it to set it up? It's a waste of money.
Maybe you
Just
can
want to
answer
mention to you that, I know that was brought up, and I brought that up, you know, to Greg when he was here, about what are we gonna do about marking some of the stuff downtown for bicycle trails and stuff. And for whatever reason, he just never did do anything with it.
Yeah, it's
So
been 4
I will-
months, not
I
one
do,
thing's happened.
you know, now that Mike's on board, I'm gonna bring it back up.
So,
The simplest streets, and I expressed them before, would, to start off, would be Arizona, Nevada, and
Right.
Kansas.
Right.
They're wide enough to where you could
Good
put a
point.
bike lane on both sides, and that's just a start if you just did those 3 streets.
I mean, the study alone, I mean, just before we even spend this much money, is we have, what's the bicycle company,
Huh?
GoDaddy, is that what it is?
Giddy up.
Giddy Up? We have Giddy Up there, we should have brought them in, like, how many visitors are you using your bikes?
Right.
How many people are spending that much money? How much are you making
What's
each
the
month?
use?
And
What's the
actually,
use of the
all of
bike?
that will rise to the top when RPM does their assessment. So that is the initial part of the project. So RPM comes in here and they start their assessment. What do we already have? And how can we use that to move forward?
But I'm
That
saying,
is-
like, during
so
the
they-
travel of the week, I don't see not one person riding these bikes in town.
well, on Kansas City,
Hardly
so
ever.
that just made me, give me an idea why I'm seeing so many people in Kansas, is because the street is wider.
The one thing I feel about this is it's about the future of Trinidad and bicycles. We're already in at 12.5, and that's why I feel we have to go forward with it, because if we walk away now, I just think it's
Yeah, the only way I could put it in my head to make it feel all palatable and good is to say to myself, well, we're getting $60,000 worth of studies for 25.
Here's the reason I could say that I wouldn't want it, is because what was done to us in the process of it. It was stripped from us, and now it's back on our table with no explanation about anything until now again. And that's what I feel. But as an economic driver for the city, we need to move forward.
But we're gonna spend
That's the way.
$60,000 on studies and we're gonna have to do it. Who's gonna break down the studies for us? Who's the professional from the city of Trinidad that's gonna get this big old document of all these studies and say, well, here's what the studies mean now and here's what we're gonna do to move forward? Who's doing that?
Actually, RPM is doing that. They will stand in front of us and say, this is what you have, this is where you can go, and these are the ideas that we have.
And-
They're not just gonna do a study, throw it at us, and we're gonna say, what do we do with this? That's not how they do this.
And so
they
will the
will-
other people
They
that
will.
we deal with.
Now at this meeting, I
Whatever
think
that
there
is.
needs to be a city representation, because this is basically gonna be not the tourism board, but it's a plan for the city.
They create a
Right.
draft vision, so what it says is, based upon the due diligence, they will draft Trinidad's unique value proposition and create a vision for Trinidad cycling tourism. Is it a one-day or a multi-day event? Building a cycling culture and lifestyle that attracts visitors. How do we do that? Trails, developing bicycle trails, cycling campgrounds, a festival, a race, a ride, tours, a bike park. Something out of the box that puts Trinidad on the map as a unique destination for bicyclists. What are the infrastructure and policy needs? So they come in and they look at the whole shebang and say, this is what you have, this is what you need, and this is what you can do with it.
But I want a city official to come and tell us, like, we got this study. Okay, the city's gonna put in $100,000 to do all these items. Cause
Right.
these items right here aren't cheap. These are expensive items to put in place.
Right, so the next one is invite feedback and comments. With this draft vision, we would return to Trinidad and present it to the select stakeholders of government, business leaders, community leaders, and get comments via a roundtable presentation. So then after they've got all this identified for us, then we all sit down and government comes to the table and says, okay, this is what we can do. That's when government says,
This is what we needed
We can do it.
before we signed
Yeah.
in with RPM. That's what we
I'm
actually
moving backwards a
needed.
little.
We needed that round table
Nancy-
before we started that.
Phil, I know that I suggested or asked Greg's son when he came before us on RPM, and I asked him if he was going into the tourism business. Why did he attempt to take this away from us? I've never understood that.
I never did talk to him about that, to be honest with you, so I
But-
don't have a,
But there should have been some kind of discussion, because he was then committing city money for this study,
Okay,
right?
I appreciate it.
Do you have any idea?
no,
do
actually,
you
Greg
have-
was, did not have any knowledge of what was really going on.
Do you have any idea
Then he
as
should
to-
not have done it.
Do you have any idea as to how that was, why that was taken
Yeah.
from us? You don't,
I don't
you just,
have a
at
clue,
that
to
time?
be honest with you, I don't.
But
I
Do
think
you,
he
do
probably
you might
per-
have any idea of?
So I apologize, I kind of heard some and then I had to take the call. No, I'm trying to figure it out. That's straight up answer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. We had a meeting yesterday, Marty is kind of on it and explaining that there's the vision, the
Visitor profile study.
Craft 101 and the RPM are two different animals. So you're saying something was taken from you, I apologize.
Well,
The RPM.
it was all gonna be part of our decision.
Both of them?
$15,000 was gonna come from economic development.
Correct.
It was gonna put with the $10,000 and then from Craft 101.
But we all thought that was just RPM.
Right.
No,
we never
see,
thought of
that
this
is-
one right
That
here.
isn't the
Yeah.
case as
That
far as
is-
I'm
that is
unfolding.
where the
Now, this
confusion lies.
came in,
Yeah.
Yes.
this is the first I've heard of this.
That's
today.
right, that's where the confusion lies. That
And-
15,000
and I used
and
it-
1,000 was RPM. I don't even
And
remember
I
this
use it as an
one.
example again, guys, we can pick whoever we
Well, let
want
me,
for
but let me get back on track. So that $25,000 was gonna go to the study of RPM.
That's the way I understand it.
And which we find out today that the $10,000 should have never even been part of that RPM study.
from the craft
From
money.
the craft
craft
money.
Correct.
There were
So-
funds taken from craft to RPM.
So since I've been on this board, there's been so many things that have been done by staff, never approved by this board.
And he's
And then-
referring
and
to
then-
Jonathan and Sarah.
Right, and then, so now the next thing is, and this is just in recent months, this 15,000 and this 10,000 were stripped from us with no explanation to us as to why. And now it's back on our table for us to put up 12.5 to complete the study of the RPM, which I feel we're in the middle of it. We need to move forward with it because it's an economic driver for the city, and a plan as to where we're gonna go with bikes, if we wanna go with bikes in the city. So that's where I stand.
What's the city's take on bikes? Are
Yeah.
I mean, is the city on board for these bikes or not?
In conversation, they believe that anything that will attract, tourism into the city, we're in.
Mhm. Let me ask you
So
a
that would
question.
include,
People that, we talked, there's been a little bit of discussion about biking, and the big question I think has come up, like you said, or you had said, is that some of the streets downtown are very narrow, but maybe we need to figure out areas that can
Yeah.
be striped for riders.
And I'll ask Mike, my suggestion was Arizona, Nevada, and Kansas, cause they're wide streets.
Yeah.
And if there could be a bike lane
Clean it.
up and down on both sides.
Start
And
getting
Sure.
used to it.
actually,
Yeah,
have
so-
some places.
That's good and all, but if you're riding your bike, you have to get to those streets, so we gotta figure
Right.
that whole thing out and
Yeah.
how we,
The
you know,
starting point.
how I start from my house,
Right.
Yeah,
dangerously go through traffic to get to that wide open
Right.
street,
Right.
so.
Right.
And that's
Um,
why we're paying RPM $25,000 to identify those problems. That's their job, that's why we're paying them.
So, Mr. City Manager and Mr. Mayor, glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
He committed to you, right? In church.
Here's my question. Here's my question. If because we're obligated to pay the balance of this, and they come back and review the study with us, and we find that there are major requirements or commitments that are needed by the city, how will we know they're going to get done? Or
I
we
think the
just,
big- I think the big thing there is we need to see what those obstacles that are presented or whatever first, so that then we can move forward with it.
So that's when we
But
would have a
that-
round table.
But to say now,
Say, here's the
how we're
document.
gonna do it, it's pretty hard for us to say, so
Right.
we need to have that information.
so we
before us.
we've gotta pay to find out if you'll do it.
Well,
Well, this
Maybe
is
it's
part of the
feasible.
whole planning process, it's strategic planning. Hopefully out of this document, you know, they say, we need $5 million, we're gonna say, wait a minute.
Right.
But if they say, you need $5 million over 15 years and we start here and this is how we get there.
Okay, I just
We've
think.
gotta work with council, we gotta work through our planning on prioritizing and
Right.
everything, but
To be used for grant.
this is
And
how we
that,
start.
and that's a good way of explaining it, Mike.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing too, you gotta remember is this RPM, are they going to study just the downtown area?
It's the whole.
No, it's a
So
county.
that's what I'm thinking about, because you
Yeah.
gotta remember, we're talking about Fisher's Peak now and all
Yeah.
the stuff that's going on up there, all the trails up there. The other part of that is, I talked to, Tim Chrysler and actually Howard, because the plan originally to get from Fisher's Peak over to Trinidad Lake, so that's all part of it, that's all inclusive, so
Right.
So that's-
that RPM study should include that.
Well, they have a meeting on October the 2nd with TLP and the Nature Conservancy, so that's their first meeting, their very first meeting.
So,
Thank you.
I understand the commitment over a time period, but I just wanted to know if, or going forward, is there a breaking point where the city
Has
and
buy-in.
tourism says, no, we can't do this, or are we gonna go into a stall mode?
I hope not.
Well,
I don't wanna go stall, not at all. I want
I
us
mean,
to,
the
yeah.
entire study's like a $65,000 package.
Yeah, because we have two studies going on. One we have to complete for craft and one with RPM is what he's referring to.
The visitor
We
profile
have
study
two
and
profile
the
studies.
bicycle tourism study.
Okay.
that visitor program study sounds.
Well, you know, the thing about it, you gotta remember is that the city of Trinidad, council is banking on two areas to improve the economic development of this community. That is recreation, and the other one is our arts-based project. So those two are our big concentration to move this community forward. So you gotta take it from there.
So I make the motion.
So, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve it.
Tom has made a motion to approve it. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, with gritted teeth. Those were gritted teeth that you said.
Well,
there right
I-
It's
there.
just like,
It was
it's
hard
so
to
much
do
money
it.
for
We
what,
all do.
you
I
know,
agree.
it's like, I want our board to control everything, I don't want
Joey,
it
I
to be
remember
done on the
standing
end.
here
And I
and saying,
think
this
from
is a
now on, we
worthless
always
thing.
have to remember that while we have liaisons and people
Yeah.
that work for the tourism board, is to say that any of the grants or contracts that come through. So one of the problems is that the board never saw any of the contracts
Yeah.
Yeah.
or grants. So, anyway, so let's.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that you're in place right now, I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
I think, you know,
I am
with
too.
this is we need someone that's level-headed thinking that can see the overall picture, I mean, cause that's what it is, even with you, Mr. Mayor, is like, if we're on board, we need the whole city to be on board on this. This is an expensive project to spend, I mean, two studies, $65,000, that's a ton of money, you know,
Well, we don't
for,
spend 65,000, we only spend 25.
but we are spending 65,000 as a city.
We're
We
Yeah,
are.
the city kicked in some
Oh,
money and
yeah.
it's not really
Economic
65,
development,
but
you
yeah.
know, the
55
city is spending that much money.
Well,
Yeah.
actually 45 if you wanna look at it from every point of view, cause 10 was granted to us to do only a visitor study, and 10 was because Marty got it reduced by 10, and we'll use that reduction to whatever contract we select for that visitor study as leverage. I negotiated.
Gotta negotiate.
I did, she's a negotiator.
I
Okay.
did.
As like, just a second, as this, I don't know if I've overlooked it or not, but on the city budget, I would personally like to see line items for grants that are currently within the city's,
Possession.
per overview, okay? Because I do think that, as tourism, with these two issues, it should always be highlighted on, as a line item. Those are restricted funds
Yes.
that are with that grant. And for someone to take funds from a grant for another project is not legal.
I agree, totally.
Okay,
that's
so what I would like to ask that the city do is have line items broken down from their general fund, what grants they have and how much was it and for the project. Because
Okay.
I think that is good for the public to know. It also helps us because we would be highlighted, let's just say the craft project, it was a grant for $10,000 and it was for tourism. Or you have ABC grant and it was 15,000 and it was for this project. I think that the public needs to see that, and I think this is an example of why we need to see it.
Sure. And just for your info, all the grants are identified in the revenues of each line item, and it says grant. It might not quite in the budget book define the scope of the grant, and we could work on that, but it's there, it's transparent, trust me.
I guess I've never seen it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, one thing I would like to know between the city council and the tourism board or any other board is the studies that are taking place so we won't duplicate. Because a few years ago, we had 2 studies that we were looking at and they were the exact same theme. 2 different companies, exact same theme. That was, oh my God,
that's-
I remember that, and that was pretty crazy. That's what I do not wanna see. I haven't seen it
Understood.
since, but, you know, because even if this RPM and this other grant, they were both grants that maybe one of them would have been okay, not both of them, but we're just throwing grants, and if the city does a grant and the tourism board a grant, they're probably the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
understood, communication.
because that was
I get it.
that was a big thing about 3 years ago. Those 2 themes were overwhelming for us.
Understood.
It was, and we had to go to meetings all the time, and they were the same theme. There you go. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
I
thank you.
appreciate
Thank you
you
very
guys.
much,
and
Mike.
I think
We're
you're-
glad you're there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remember church.
Okay.
The last one was the automobile commercial.
At Arcade, who, where?
Okay, so, NBC will be here this weekend on Saturday doing our commercial. We need a representative from the city or the board or the community or somebody to do this 2.5 or this 25-minute interview to film this commercial for the city. It's not for Arcade. This is a commercial for the city.
Wally Wallace would be good.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
He's the
one.
new
I
economic.
have weddings this weekend, I'm serving them, and it's just a lot
Wally's
for
out of
me, I
town.
can't guarantee anything.
Wally's out of town.
Out of town?
Yeah,
He won't be here this weekend?
I don't think so. He was at 2 different things each week, he
Oh.
told me.
Tom could do it.
Tom and John
Tom,
could
yeah.
do it.
I can't do it. I got
I
a
have a
wedding
wedding.
too. I'm
Tom
shutting
is-
down on
Yes,
Saturday.
and I'm cooking and everything, I'm just.
Okay, we gotta come up with somebody.
Tom Murphy.
Well,
I'm gonna be filming the
Oh.
parade.
can we use part of that parade?
Oh, yeah.
Tommy, it's you. I mean, I
How
could
about
be
the
there with you.
mayor?
Kirby
How about,
Stokes,
how about the
there's
mayor? How about
Mayor,
Mike?
there's-
Yeah, how about
Mike?
Mike?
Let's
Valentine.
ask Mike, the mayor, I just, I'm
You know,
overwhelmed
another
with
thing
food right
too, Donna, you just reminded me of this. We have a lot of transplants that have moved here from other places.
Mhm.
It'd be good to interview them and say, why did you choose Trinidad?
Yeah,
Well, we have one person.
Okay,
can
We
we,
need one person to talk about the history of Trinidad, what's
Yeah.
going on, the energy in
When is
Trinidad
it
right
supposed to
now.
be?
Saturday.
how about
Saturday
Friday?
morning, Saturday night, Saturday afternoon?
afternoon. Well, actually, it's our choice. Not during the time they're filming the parade, but other than that,
How about
we can
Kirby?
pick the
Yeah,
location.
there you go.
We can, the background for it, we can pick if we wanna do it in front of the museum or with Fisher's Peak in the background or whatever. We pick the background, we pick the topics, we pick the person. We just need to know what those are.
I think the interview, I mean, they probably know, but I mean, the interview should really be when the cars are coming down and they're interviewing them with the cars and
Well,
behind them.
Well,
think
that's
that's-
not,
Because they
that's
have
not-
all
That's, they're doing
No.
one, they're doing
Oh,
one
this
like
is for not
that.
art, okay,
This
this
is
is for.
not art,
totally
This is
separate.
not
This
okay,
is-
this is strictly the city
Oh.
of
We
Trinidad.
get 2 commercials.
Oh, that's.
We have the
You know-
arcade commercials that are gonna run in each segment
Yeah,
for the 5
this is our
episodes.
private one,
Then ours
for our buy-in.
I mean, our biggest acquisition is Fisher's Peak. That's
How,
really, should have.
do you know how this layout's gonna be, is it just an interview of,
It's an interview for the city. This is gonna be our commercial to use for whatever
I just
we
really
want
think
to
it
use.
has to be either
somebody
somebody on
who's
this board or
knowledgeable of
city
the
council.
area?
Yeah.
They're
and-
selling the city. This
I
is
think
our
right.
time to shine. It's our time to say, this is who we are, this is what
Now-
we're doing.
Now, what
This
if,
is
could we have
our
like a few
time.
people, could we talk,
whatever time.
could we have somebody there that could talk a little bit about Fisher's Peak and the acquisition of it, and maybe, Space to Create? Those are the people that we need.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are all topics that I've
So
written
if
down.
you get together with Tommy and get somebody to talk about Fisher's Peak,
But
And-
that's, what we
and
need
three-
is
three people
people,
there.
people of knowledge, because
Yeah.
they're gonna be in front of
We
this, and
want,
that's,
we
and
want a
is there
good
somebody in
camera
the city?
model.
Is there somebody in
We
the
want-
city who knows a little bit
Yeah.
about the Space to Create?
We
Well,
want somebody
Marilyn
knowledgeable.
Lewisler.
Yes.
Marilyn
Wish
Lewisler.
I would
could
get
have been on the
Marilyn.
Space to Create team. I wish I could. I just-
Marilyn Lewisler.
that's what time.
So
She's
we
been there
have,
since day
if we
one.
could get her to talk about the Space to Create, and then maybe the acquisition of Fisher's Peak and.
The mayor would be best.
the
to
mayor
talk
the
about
best,
that.
yeah.
Well,
and,
also,
you know, I'm willing to be there
And Tom.
also, you know.
I would like to suggest Jim Vigil, because he has worked tirelessly
Yeah,
with Park and
great.
Wildlife, on Fisher Creek.
That's a great idea.
So-
He's also a state representative at the, Park and Wildlife.
That's great. I think that's a
So-
great suggestion.
So people knowledgeable of the area,
Right.
and then,
I'm aware, but I want you to pick them.
Marilyn,
I know
Jim
what we need,
Vigil.
I just
Marilyn,
want you guys
do
to.
you
Who
have
do
any
you suggest?
suggestions maybe? How
I
about
think
Kirby,
Marilyn
how
would
about
be
Kirby from, maybe the museum,
History.
Yeah.
the History Museum?
Cause
Yeah, I
then you
never know.
have future, you have history.
And then
you have-
Marilyn, and then get the mayor there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we could, if you can contact those three,
Okay, so if we have the choice of one of these people to be our spokesperson for this community, who would it be?
Mike,
Kirby Stokes, Jim Hill, Marilyn Lewisler, or Mike Valentine?
I
Mike.
put
Mike just knows what all's going on.
Yeah.
Like Kirby would be good about history, but Mike knows what's going on, or the mayor.
and how long
So
is
what
this
we,
thing?
we could also do is we're gonna pull up some clips, some historical clips that we can use in this commercial. We're gonna do maybe some drone footage that we can use in this commercial. So we
Right.
have some options. It's
How
our
about-
commercial. We can
is-
make
Who
it-
did that last drum
Is
that was
there-
on Facebook?
is-
It's wonderful.
Who
I
did
think
that?
Rich
Dana.
from the.
Great Dana Crawford's video.
That that is a good one, the
Yeah.
Dana Crawford
Is that the one
that
Have
that
you
Rich
seen that?
made?
that she did.
Chronicle?
No, that's not them. Dana Crawford put it up.
Yeah, but she got it from somewhere.
I
The
can't
guy's
remember.
name is Bart somebody or
Yeah.
other. He was in the
Oh,
bar,
right.
Bart somebody
Now,
or
if we
other.
could have that segment with the voice. of
Well,
someone
even the
talking.
one from GoCo.
And maybe Rich has something from the Chronicle News of.
Now, I have time to get those together. This doesn't have to be done this weekend, but I do have to have the interview done this weekend. So we've got time to put together what we want for
Okay.
this
So you
commercial,
have
but
the-
I need a spokesperson.
So you have.
Well,
the
Mike,
perspective.
if you have to do one, then it's Mike and
I
Tommy will
think,
do it.
even Phil, because Phil has a little bit of
It's just
knowledge
one
of each
person.
one.
Yeah, right, that's what I
He has
said.
knowledge
Well,
of
he
the
told me
Space to
to do
Create,
this.
he has knowledge of, Fisher's
Fisher's
Peak, and of history of the area.
Where'd he go? Should we ask him?
No,
He's-
we'll just tell him.
Or we just tell him?
Okay, that's what I needed.
Gotcha. Alright,
Okay.
let's dive again.
And with that, the next meeting, it says September 25th. I will not be here, so you'll be in charge.
Well, actually, that'll change because we're having the next meeting on Tuesday.
The 17th.
The 17th, okay.
So we'll make the other meeting, right? September 25th meeting?
Yes.
And then make the 17th that meeting?
Yeah, probably,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
yes, at that meeting, okay.
And that's a
Motion-
budget meeting.
Can
motion-
we talk about too, we're leaving, we're all leaving? No, we're not, yeah.
Yeah, we are, we're
We're all
all
leaving.
going to the governor's
Conference,
conference
we'll chit chat about that,
on
or
the 20,
It's on the 17th.
Tommy, where's the?
yeah, on the 17th, we'll talk about the governor's conference.
Yeah, but you're not gonna, oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, I motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Good job, look at that, it's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, we're rocking, I might leave Friday.